Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how Justin Trudeau has said that against a background of tariff-happy man-child on his southern border, he'd like to revive trade talks with the UK. So what's this about? What could it mean for America's long-term future? But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So I don't think it needs re-emphasising too much, but the problem for many countries with Donald Trump is that he has this attitude of winning and losing in all negotiations, no such thing as mutual benefit. And even when he does something that will harm his or America's interests, it's really hard to point this out to him because he doesn't understand that the wasp is dangerous until it stings him on the nose. Indeed, he keeps changing his stated reasons for threatening tariffs. One day it's about correcting a balance of trade, which of course it would not do. But the next, it will be about drugs. He just says whatever seems to suit at the time, somewhat giving the game away he has no coherent plan for tariffs. What Trump doesn't seem to understand is that the imbalance of trade he complains about is not other countries or markets treating America unfairly. It's because America produces far too much stuff that nobody wants to buy. Improve the quality instead of asking other markets to lower their standards. But as it happens, America still has by far the largest economy in the world, so it's not doing too badly, is it? We also don't really know why he suspended his tariffs this week against Mexico and Canada. I am still unable to find anything which Trump claims to have won, which hadn't already been announced when Biden was still president. Meaning that Trump's reasoning was either, one, he just wanted his supporters to think he was kicking ass and taking names, or kicking ass and taking names, that it was all just theatre. Two, he didn't like the response, which was very rapid from Canada in particular, though given that it was the same response he got last time, I'm really not sure about this. But then his memory is a bit off these days, isn't it? Or third, he hadn't factored in the hit to the stock market or the fact that the US companies he smashed with a hammer were important to his support. But there's no guarantee that this is the end of Trump's trade war with Canada, so Trudeau looks like wanting to mitigate future damage. He wants to build up stronger trade ties with others as a way of Trump-proofing his country's trade as much as possible. Again, just as with Brexit, geography matters. Canada is always going to have a lot of trade with America. After all, what if Trump needs something to kill a bad news story, say next year or something, and decides that tariffs against a major trading partner would be a pretty good dead cat to go with? He's very much like it's like the change in attitude from our Labour government towards China, isn't it? So when Trump won the election, all of a sudden the Labour government shifted on China. You know, we were explicitly talking about, abuse of the Uyghur population, for example, concentration camps, and some of those dodgy human rights violations committed by the Chinese government all of a sudden they're still being discussed privately, I gather, but they're not making a big song and dance in front of the journalists about them. Why? Because the UK also wants to mitigate the impact of any tariffs Trump throws our way. See, right now we're trying to avoid them with intense flattery, the offer of dinner at the palace, and presumably dangling the carrot of maybe a substantial deal later on. But if Trump wants something that costs too much, we're going to have to accept the tariffs will be coming at some point. Interestingly, Trump's top economic advisor has talked openly about Trump maybe using the tariffs to hurt Chinese trade. I don't just mean with tariffs on Chinese imports into America, but by bullying other countries to do the same. So he proposed a deal that Trump could make to other countries whereby he goes, right, I'll give you a choice. You can either raise tariffs on Chinese imports into your market, or I will raise American tariffs onto your exports into ours. What if Trump made that offer to our government? Well, the UK is moving to improve trade with China, so I think that gives us our answer. And imagine what extra tariffs on Chinese imports would do to our plans to massively upgrade renewable energy in Britain. So, if you want to limit the damage they will cause to your overall economy, you lower trade barriers to other markets first. We're trying to deal with that with China and especially the EU. Canada now wants to take the same approach. Now, it's worth noting that the Conservative government were in trade talks with Canada, but had to stop them because they refused to budge on hormone-injected beef. So actually, we don't blame the Tories for that one. They did what we wanted. Something Trump will also want, of course. It was a red line for the Conservatives. It is certainly a red line for Labour. But the collapse in talks ended up knackering British cheese producers, if you remember. So would Canada agree to accept that we won't lower our food standards? I'm not sure. According to a report in Politico, the Canadian High Commissioner for the UK, Ralph Goodale, said that they could look at an agreement around technology. And it's worth considering this move in the context of Canadian attitudes towards America long term. See, the threat from Trump is immediate, but there is no realistic way to get say a Canada-UK trade agreement agreed, signed and implemented in the next few months. That's not happening. In fact, talks can't even begin right now. See, first of all, Labour would have to work out what it wants from such a deal. Starmer today has reacted to the news and said, he's up for any sort of talk on international trade and collaboration. So a bit cagey. But part of that will probably be because I don't think we've thought about it. I don't think Labour have thought about what they would want from a Canada-UK trade deal because of the way the talks collapsed. You wouldn't have thought that more were going to be started up again in the immediate future. But also on the Canadian side, there's like a change of leadership going on in Canada itself. That would take some time to form an agreement as well, even when talks begin. And then trade agreements have an implementation period, so businesses can get used to it once they're ratified. So even if it's successful, it won't come online for, probably until after Trump's term ends. So this move by Canada, it's not a reaction to an immediate threat. It's surely a consideration that this is now going to be an ongoing threat into the future, that America itself as a country, not just the current president, is not going to be a reliable trade partner. That even when Trump is gone, if his successors think his tactics worked, they may ape them. And that won't be good for America any more than it was good for Britain when we raised trade barriers with our most important trading partner and then proved ourselves to be a bad faith actor, untrustworthy. This could be the start of a move towards relying less on American trade. After all, if the same president who signed a trade agreement with both Mexico and Canada will not honour it in his second term, why would a completely different American president? And if these moves are continued in another decade, it could mean that America gets less benefit from throwing its weight around and has to start negotiating in better faith. Unlike Britain, America is, of course, this economic superpower, the economic superpower. So it's got more fuel in the tank for being difficult. But nonetheless, when close trading partners decide to build stronger ties elsewhere, that is still going to weaken America's influence in time. So when you consider Trump's behaviour on the world stage, whether politically or economically, what we're potentially looking at here is a foreseeable future where America rapidly loses influence. I mean, I've had comments on the channel myself from people in both Canada and Europe who said they saw America as a great ally and they were absolutely comfortable with them leading the Western world, but now feel betrayed and want their countries to protect themselves. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.